Hello, everybody, and welcome to CFB Unfiltered. My name is Blaine Gilmer. I'm here with Josh Taylor and Donovan White, and we are here bringing you another loaded week of college football action. It is week 6 in college football, and Josh, we're going to be separating the contenders from the pretenders. Who's real this week is the name of this show.
Absolutely. The biggest showdown of the week, Penn State and Iowa. Can't wait to break that down. Donovan, you've got to be drilling down there as the Big Ten fan that you are.
Listen, I mean, it's the best football in the country, right? We get to see the best matchup so far this year with many more to come from the Big Ten. I'm excited. I'm as excited as everybody.
Yeah,
I'll give you that Tyler Linderbaum is the best offensive lineman or center in the country, definitely. But Big Ten having that best football moniker, I don't know about that, man. We'll see. Now they do have the most in the top 10 right now. They got 4 teams in the AP top 10, only 2 ACC teams in there, But let's be honest, they're number 1 and 2, Alabama and Georgia right now. Want to give a shout out right now. I know it's not college football, but my Atlanta Braves in the playoffs on today's game, on today's show. It's Friday. Braves taking on the Brewers. So as you're watching this or listening to it, you're going to see the Bravos in there. That can bring everybody together. Braves are America's team, man. It's like
baseball's as irrelevant as Notre Dame in the playoffs.
Maybe so. But, we've got a lot of stuff that we're going to hit early on here. Just so you know, we're going to change up the format of the show here a little bit. We're going to do previews of Penn State going to Iowa for a top 4 matchup. The number 3 ranked Nittany Lions going to Iowa. We'll also have a preview of the Red River Showdown between Oklahoma and Texas at the State Fair in Dallas over there. So it's always an intriguing matchup. And then a bounce back game between Arkansas and Ole Miss. And these are 2 teams that you can bet on seeing some fireworks, guys. And just Josh, right off the bat, we wanted to tell everybody we're going to get into our big 3 in between those. Our big 3, guys, is something that we do where usually at the end of shows, but now we're going to kind of mix it in between the shows where we do 3 headlines, 3 best bets, and 3 individual matchups throughout the week. Not team matchups, but the Jimmies and the Joes inside of the matchups, if you will, Donovan. So first headline of the week, Josh, go ahead and tell them what they're getting in their big 3 first headline of the week.
Yep, this one you can tell I wrote it. I put Jimbo regrets the whiteboard material on beating Alabama. Nick Saban fired back with what's he going to beat us in golf? I thought that was a little slide, Nick. We don't see too often. I say Crimson Tide rolls Texas A&M, sending Jimbo to 0-3 in the SEC play after getting that huge deal before the season even started, by the way.
Yeah, so these are headlines that we're saying what you're going to see after the weekend. These are headlines that could be after this weekend. So definitely think that Jimbo is going to be fed even more humble pie there as they've already been struggling there. Donovan, that Texas A&M offensive line just really not being able to protect Zach Calzada or help Isaiah Spiller out much there at all.
Yeah, I mean, again, I believe they lost 4 starters after last season, and then their 5th starter kind of switched positions, right? So you got a lot of just turmoil right up front, and it's showing in their team right now.
No doubt. And we also have in the second category of our big 3, like I said, best bets. And Josh, what's the first bet that you want to lay on people on here?
The first one is actually my favorite for the weekend. The team that we roasted before the season started, we have to admit it, but Michigan State, 5.5-point favorites at Rutgers. I said Michigan State offense with Thorne at quarterback, Kenneth Walker III, who's probably my favorite running back outside of Alabama, of course, in college football this season, getting Heisman talk, and then Reed at wide receiver and also in special teams. They can put up a lot of points. We've never seen this from Michigan State, averaging 37.5 points per game. Rutgers got whooped up last week by Ohio State. They're going to be limping into this one more than likely. I say Michigan State, 5.5 points. You got to pound that one all day long.
Yeah, so there's our lock of the week, and that's a Bet Online spread, guys. And speaking of Bet Online, we're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. As always, Bet Online, your number one spot for all your pro and college football action this season with new and updated website and interface, even more odds, props, and contests. Bet Online continues to be the number one source for everything football. So head on over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your bonus from football, basketball, boxing, baseball playoffs, like I'm wearing my Braves gear here, the Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. Bet Online, it's the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. Bet Online, where the game starts. So thank you to Bet Online, as always, for sponsoring CFB Unfiltered. And speaking of some thank yous, guys, we always want to thank the 365 Sports YouTube channel, which we are streaming on here. Make sure to do us a favor, guys, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications, because it's not just our content. There is great content. Guys like JD Piquel with the hard count, the guys that the 365 Sikkim 365 that put out a live show every day. I think it's from 3 to 6 p.m. Central Time over there. So you want to check all that, or Eastern Time, 2 to 5 Central. You want to check all that out over there. 365 Sports YouTube channel, and then also find us CFB Unfiltered on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. But the last part of our first set of big three, Josh, is we have a matchup, and one that's kind of intriguing here is Hinden Hooker and the Tennessee offense versus South Carolina's defense that only allows 17.4 points per game. I'm intrigued by it because Tennessee, 458 rushing yards last week against Missouri. They really ran it up. Now, Missouri's defense is terrible. I mean, it's god awful. But anytime you take advantage of that and rack up, when you're getting close to that 500 yards of rushing in one game, that's a good feat. Hinden Hooker has been efficient. I think he was. I think he ended up being 15 and 19, 225 yards, a couple touchdowns in that game. So I'm intrigued to see that one as well. But speaking of being intrigued, guys, the biggest thing that I think everybody's intrigued about all week, and we talked about it, our first preview here, Penn State and Iowa, it's going to have some playoff implications. So let's go ahead and talk about the playoffs with our first preview here.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
That's right, Josh. Whoever wins this game is going to control their destiny in their march to the playoffs. I know they're in different sides of the standings over here, but still a huge matchup nevertheless.
Yeah, we talked about the schedule that Penn State has coming up. This is the first one. You go to Iowa. Love the atmosphere, the waves up to the hospital behind the stadium, one of my favorite traditions in college football. To me, this is going to be what we wish that Arkansas and Georgia was going to be, just that defensive battle. Two great, hard-knock Big Ten defenses going at it. Arkansas forgot to show up against Georgia last week, so I think this is going to be more of an evenly matched game that is down to the wire, and you probably want to take the under on this game, speaking of defense and points.
Yeah, Big Ten expert Donovan White, take it away on Penn State and Iowa.
Yeah, listen, I think we're going to find out two things. We're either going to learn a lot about the winner and loser of this team, right, depending on who wins or lose, or we're going to learn nothing, right? If it's a close game, right, we're going to realize, Iowa's defense is still really good and their offense is bad, right? Penn State's offense is solid and their defense is solid, right? We're either going to learn a lot about the winner or loser, or we're going to learn nothing, right, win or lose. So what I'm curious to see is which team kind of elevates their game, right? Is Iowa's offense going to finally step up, right? Is Penn State's defense or the Penn State's offense going to show that they can compete with Ohio State's offense, right? Or Penn State or Iowa's defense in this case? I'm interested to see which team comes out on top because, again, massive implications for either one of them.
Yeah, and they're going to need this because you look from a strength of schedule standpoint. Neither team is going to blow the committee away by their strength of schedule stuff. Yes, I know Ohio State is in the Big Ten. I know Michigan's in the Big Ten, but there's some teams, that are really struggling inside the Big Ten and drag that strength of schedule down. You look at Iowa, their strength of schedule number 62 out of 130 in FBS. Penn State 72 out of 130 in FBS. So this is a marquee matchup, something that the committee will look at going forward. Especially depends on what happens over there in the Big Ten East, right? I mean, it's a a crapshoot on there's going to be good teams that could potentially all pick each other off over there between Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. So an intriguing matchup. I'm looking, Josh, at this Iowa passing offense, only 59.9% completion on the year. So my question to you is, can Penn State load the box and force them to throw the football, and will they be successful in doing so?
Oh, yeah, and it starts with my guy, Brandon Smith, linebacker from my high school, literally right down the road, got offers from Georgia, Alabama. I mean, we thought he was going all over the place. He was going to go play SEC ball, and then, boom, he commits to Penn State, which might be considered one of the best linebacker colleges. The linebacker U is how they like to call it. So I think they will. We talked about Petrus getting his game going, and he's been getting better each week. But you haven't played a team like Penn State yet with that kind of defense. So this is, to me, the biggest stage he's going to be on all season long. Luckily, he's playing at home, so he doesn't have that, the whiteout or a night game at Penn State to worry about. He's in his home field advantage, soaking it all in, and he just has to control the offense and watch out for Brandon Smith. And you can't throw the ball and turn over this game. You're going to be losing the game. The defense, whoever steps up this game, to me, wins it. Short fields, like we talked about with Arkansas and Georgia, whoever wins that turnover battle, this is the same thing for me. Best defense wins this game.
And Donovan, both these teams pretty qualified when it comes to forcing turnovers here. Penn State a 3-1 turnover ratio, 9 turnovers forced, 3 lost on the year. Iowa 16 turnovers forced and 4 turnovers lost on the year. So 2 opportunistic defenses in this one, Donovan.
Yeah, and here's the thing with Iowa, right? I highly doubt that Penn State is going to throw 6 interceptions like Maryland did the week before. I was listening to the replay of that and hearing the announcer say, "Oh man, that's terrible." Oh no, not again, right? Penn State's not going to do that, right? They're too good of a team. They're too well coached for the team to do that. The thing I'm interested to see with Iowa, like you mentioned, Josh, is that their passing game isn't that outstanding, right? And so their offensive line, again, led by Tyler Linderbaum, the best offensive lineman in the country, their offensive line has to step up in terms of the run game and in terms of protection, right, to try and elevate that passing game. And my former offensive line coach in college, George Barnett, is there, and he's a brilliant offensive line mind. He's going to have those boys ready to play. They're going to have the great scheme for Penn State, right? You can pick certain pieces and aspects of what you saw when Auburn played them, right? Not so much Indiana with 0 points being scored, but he knows how to pick pieces and parts of other games to develop the perfect game plan for this, to get that O-line to step up for their team.
For me, one thing that gets me excited, one of my favorite wide receivers, Jahan Dotson versus Matt Hankins and Riley Moss. That is as good as it gets. Dotson is a first-round wide receiver, in my opinion. I think he's a top 2, top 3 wide receiver in the draft coming up. Then you have Riley Moss and, like I said, Matt Hankins with all these interceptions. They've been shutting teams down and
for 7-8 years. They've been there for 9 years in Iowa. Hankins and Riley Moss have. Yeah. They've been there forever. So
to me, that's like the matchup. I cannot wait to watch this game because they're both as good as it could be at both of their spots. And Jahan Dotson has been making outstanding catches all season long. I want to see if he can do that against this level of a defense.
And I think Penn State's going to have to do a lot of work underneath when it comes to their passing game, because Iowa State plays a lot of quarters coverage. They're going to drop out of there, and they're not going to let anything get over the top, and then they're going to break on the ball, right? They've got a good break, good agility to when the ball comes out of the quarterback's hands. So Sean Clifford is going to have to be wary of, some zone droppers, giving some different looks. Like, are they going to bring heat early and then drop somebody out there late? So, that'll be an interesting thing for me. But one of the keys to this game for me as well is which Penn State rushing attack shows up, right? Because it's been kind of Jekyll and Hyde there. Penn State, Donovan, known typically for being a physical, run it down your throat type team, has had tremendous running back play over there over the years. Saquon Barkley came out of Penn State. Miles Sanders came out of Penn State. They really just ran the football at will with that. Now Sean Clifford's been doing, a lot of the heavy lifting with his legs. Noah Cain, they've really failed to get him just 100% rolling this year. But I wanted to point out, got it right here, Wisconsin, they only had 50 yards rushing against Wisconsin. That doesn't look any better than it did. Then we thought Wisconsin had a really good defensive team. Now we know that not to be the case. Against Auburn, only 83 yards rushing, so less than 100 yards. Against Villanova, only 80 yards rushing. But against Indiana, and against Ball State, they had over 200 yards rushing. So which one of those shows up? This Iowa team, I don't think is going to be allowing a lot of rushing yards.
Yeah, no, Iowa's defensive front seven. They're big, they're tough, they're built to stop the run, right? Which is one of the reasons why they're succeeding so well in the Big Ten, is because you don't have some of that elite speed, right, that you do in the SEC, which is why I think they would struggle a little bit against some SEC offense. I'll admit that, right? But Penn State, Sean Clifford is not the guy that's going to go out there and rip for 400 yards passing. He's just not. And when you put too much on his legs, we've seen in the past, he's gotten hurt a few times where you just see it's not feasible for him to be that kind of main ball carrier, even, 50-50 split.
Yeah. So you've got the second ranked scoring defense in the country in Iowa, 11.6 points per game, against the third ranked scoring defense in the country with Penn State, 12 points a game. They're both behind Georgia with 4.6 points a game. Just wanted to throw that out there. But anyways, let's talk about Iowa and Penn State. It's time to give our picks. We've thrown out all the rationale. So tell us, what do you think the score will be, Josh? We'll go with you first, then Donovan, and also why.
Well, I agree with what you said when you talked about the defenses. Clifford's going to think something's there. He's going to think Dotson's open, and that's when Iowa just runs. They play like outfielders in baseball. They just run behind them. Like you said, they don't let too much go on behind them, and if something does, they're quick to get there. That's how they get so many interceptions. We've seen Clifford evolve so much over the past few years. It feels like he's been there forever too. But I think this is a game that's just too much. At Iowa, you've got to imagine that home field advantage, even though it's not a night game. Some reason college game day is not going there for whatever reason, but still just a crazy atmosphere to be in. I have so much faith in that defense. I say Iowa. I think it's going to be really low scoring, but I think it's going to be like a 20-17 game with Iowa.
So you got them covering on the Bet Online spread is 1.5 in favor of Iowa. Donovan, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, I played in this stadium before, right? And it was against us, right? This wasn't the number 3 versus number 4 matchup. That place is electric, right? I'm going to trust Iowa's defense, right? And I'm going to go 21-17. Josh, we were thinking about the same there.
I'm going to bring it full circle here because, one, I think Auburn is a fraud, and I think that Penn State is getting too much credit for beating a mediocre Auburn team at home. I like the maturity of this Kirk Ferentz Iowa team. Like you said, Hankins, Moss back there in the secondary. They've been there for 10 years. I mean, it's a very seasoned group, and I like them to be physical and be able to run the football more than I do so Penn State. I'm going to take – I think it's low scoring as well, but I'm going to take Iowa's defense to hold true to form. I'm going to hold Penn State to 13 points. I'm going to say Iowa wins this one 24-13.
I could see it.
So that is our preview of Penn State traveling to Iowa. And now for our second set of our Big Three. Here on the Big Three, of course, remember, we give you a future headline of what will be after this weekend, a best bet and a matchup. Our first set included Jimbo Fisher having some regret for his bulletin board material provided to Alabama. Our first lock bet was Michigan State minus the 5.5 versus Rutgers. Take that. And then the matchup that we highlighted was Hendon Hooker and Tennessee versus South Carolina's defense. Now, for the second set, Josh, what is our headline that will come to be after this weekend's over with?
I think the trend with LSU continues. That one-sided offense is handicapped against a dominant Kentucky defense. The Tigers fall to 3-3 overall. If Derek Stingley's out for they don't know how long, it might be the rest of the season. You don't have that leader on the field. You're missing that presence. So I think that's a huge one. So I don't know. I think Kentucky wins this one pretty bad because they're not going to let LSU pass the ball, and LSU is going to try to run, and they're not going to have any luck at all. And by the way, Coach O is not having the best week.
No, he's not having the best week. Major Burns is out, a safety for them as well. That's already a defense that struggles with tackling and things like that. And Major Burns has been a kind of a bright spot for that defense there as safety that had transferred from Georgia. You know, I mean, he couldn't get on that field for the Georgia defenses, so he went over there to Baton Rouge. But anyways, you know, just be careful. Anybody at LSU, if you say something that Edo doesn't agree with, he may find a fishing hole to go throw you in after the game
live on the air
over with. So we will now get to our best bet, the second best bet we have of the week. Donovan, you want to cover that second best bet that is there?
Second best bet is Oregon State minus 3.5 for Washington State. So Oregon State already beat Washington and USC, and their run game is lethal, right? I think it's a good pick, and it's kind of funny. We're seeing like Oregon State, the bottom barrel of the Pac-12, right? Rutgers, the bottom barrel of the Big Ten, Arkansas, the bottom barrel of the SEC, kind of flipping the script a little bit on everybody.
Oh yeah, no doubt. The Beavers are kind of resurrecting that program there a little bit this year. They had a couple big wins. Doesn't hurt that Washington State is absolutely
Down
terrible.
bad.
So take Oregon State -3 versus Washington State. Now the second matchup in our second set of big three here, Bo Nix versus Georgia's defense, and we literally mean Bo Nix versus Georgia's defense because Auburn's offensive line has been porous. I mean, people have been running through it like a sieve. Bo Nix was running for his life against LSU. And the thing about LSU is they lead the SEC in sacks, but the majority of those came against, the Sisters of the Poor, FCS teams that we don't even know the names of, that kind of stuff. But when you talk some directional schools, but when you talk about LSU, the level of tackling quality, not there. Georgia's going to finish. They're going to get home. They're not going to allow. Jordan Davis runs as fast as Bo Nix does. I can tell everybody that now. He's 340 plus pounds. So it'll be interesting to see that matchup for me. So that is our second set on our big three. We've covered a future headline, a bet, and a matchup. And now for our second preview, we've got Oklahoma versus Texas in the Red River Showdown, presented by AT&T, of course, over there in Dallas, with college game day being on hand and all that kind of stuff. So we've got like I said, the Red River Showdown there in Dallas, the Texas State Fair. And, Josh, it's going to be interesting to see if Oklahoma continues their trend of just barely getting by in these games, and Texas with Bijan Robinson is on a absolutely upward trajectory there for Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah, I think this is complete opposites on offense. Texas has that run game going, and Oklahoma is still trying to find out where it's at. And same thing on the defense. Oklahoma's run defense has not been good this season. So I think this is a game where Robinson can kind of put a little feather in his cap if they win. If he runs all over this defense, they see him going slowly up the Heisman rankings. I think this can be a big statement game for him, especially like you said, number 6 versus number 21. Such an iconic rivalry, and college game day is there. So everything's built up for him or Spencer Rattler to kind of take over and make their mark known for that Heisman race coming up.
Donovan, what's your take on this rivalry game?
Honestly, this should be a game that Oklahoma wins, right? I mean, and from what we talked about in the preseason, right, from the talent they have. Listen, Texas has a big concern, and it's that they have the number 90 ranked passing offense in the country, right? So if they get behind, right, I understand their run game's great, but if they get behind, it's tough for them, right? Oklahoma, on the other hand, with the the Crown Prince, preseason Heisman Trophy winner, number 1 overall pick, right, should be shredding a Texas defense that's ranked about 82nd in the country, right? So the formula, from what we know about Oklahoma, should be there for them to win. But we all have that feeling of like, this is probably going to be the one. Like, this is going to be the one that Texas knocks off Oklahoma, right? The run game's too good, right? Oklahoma's got too many questions. Their own fans are chanting for Spencer Rattler to be benched. I don't see another way for Oklahoma to, kind of be what they should. Right? I don't see them being what they should, what we thought they would be in this game.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you guys, I think that Oklahoma would be better off mentally in this game if they had already lost one of those close games. I'll be honest with you, not because you ever want to lose a game, but because now it almost feels like those players are playing with nerves of, hey, we've almost lost every week here, and that kind of self-doubt starts to creep in, where as Texas has already went to Arkansas, they got their butt kicked, and they've been able to say, okay, let's put that behind us. Let's build forward. And they've gotten some momentum behind them here with Sark, and Sark kind of has that similar attitude to Lane Kiffin, right? He's got, no cares given. He's going to have fun coaching. He's going to have a good time with his program there, and they're going to try to put up a lot of points. Well, here's the thing that comes here is that you've got a Texas, run-oriented offense with Robinson versus people don't talk about it enough. The only reason Oklahoma's winning these games is because their defense is so vastly improved from what it has been. Guys, their rushing defense is the truth. I'm telling you, they've not given up more than 100 rushing yards in a game all season. They gave up exactly 100 to Tulane, exactly 100 to Kansas State, only 55 to Western Carolina, 68 to West Virginia, 95 to Nebraska. And Scott Frost in Nebraska, they want to run the football. They'll make a priority. So holding them under 100 yards is a good feat. So I'll just kind of lead it off here of what I think is gonna happen in this game. I like Texas to be able to move the ball on Oklahoma early on. But I think that the difference in this game is going to be Alex Grinch and that defensive side of the ball for Oklahoma able to make adjustments in the second half. I do think you may see Caleb Williams at some point in this game for Oklahoma. I mean, I think they could frustrate Spencer Rattler that much, but I'm going to take Oklahoma to win a close one there in the Red River Showdown. I'm going to take Oklahoma 28, Texas 24 in this one.
To me, I look at it this way. I've seen too much of Oklahoma passing game struggle and then just three and out, not getting drives going. Texas, you have that run game going with Robinson. It allows you to control the game, control the clock, milk it down, make these long drives that just frustrate Oklahoma. You score, they get the ball back. Rattler's like, all right, I got to do something special. Everybody's watching. Boom, 3 and out. Texas gets the ball right back, and it's another 5-minute drive. So I like Texas in this one. I think kind of what you said. I think Texas's defense can adjust. They're going to see what Rattler does, know that Oklahoma cannot run the ball as well as they can, not even close, honestly. So if Oklahoma can stop Robinson, which I don't think they really can, stopping Deuce Vaughn was impressive, but I think Bijan Robinson is a different beast. I think Texas wins this one 35-28.
All right, so I've got Oklahoma 28-24. Josh has Texas 35-28. Donovan, you're the tiebreaker. Who do you got in this one?
Blaine, you brought up a great point about, it almost would have been better for Oklahoma to lose, right? I've been in those situations, a player where you got to get a gut check, a reality check of we lost early, right? We're not what we were supposed to have been. Okay, what do we do to fix this, right? And when you've already lost that, right, and you play with a little bit more sense of urgency, but it's a, kind of educated one. You know what you have to do. You know that the expectations are down. Now we know what to fix. Now we know where to go. Oklahoma doesn't have that yet. Like you mentioned, Texas does. I'm going Texas. I'm going to go 30, Texas 30, Oklahoma 21.
All right, so I'm outnumbered here on the 2-1 Texas Longhorn. So we will see. This is a future SEC matchup, by the way, as these two teams are bolting away from the Big 12 as fast as they can. It'll probably be
Big 10 East.
It'll probably be next year. So we'll see. Hey, Ohio State can come down to the SEC if they want to and get some, down.
Get our 11, 12 wins each year. That'd be fine.
Oh yeah, we'll see how that goes.
In basketball
at some point in time. Now here we go for our big three, the third set of our big three. The future headline that we have here on this first one, Josh, you got a little bit of Michigan and Nebraska action here. What do you think the headline is going to be after that game?
I went a little risque with this one. Michigan struggles versus Nebraska, who has gotten better each week. I mean, look, terrible against Illinois to start the season. Everyone's like, fire Frost, and now he is terrible. But they've bounced back. They've adjusted. I think being at Nebraska kind of helps them a little bit. But we don't know if Michigan is a real top 10 team or not. So I put Michigan struggles but wins, but still leaves that question mark. Are they a true top 10 team or not this season? And, of course, Diamond says no.
We're in October now, right? September was the month. Michigan's back. October is now. Oh, Michigan's struggling, but they'll be fine. Nope.
We're in October. Wake me up when September ends.
Yeah. And here we go with a bet. West Virginia +3 going to Baylor. Guys, I really just, if the more I look at it, I think West Virginia should be favored in this game. I really do. Baylor struggled with Oklahoma State last week, never really got their offense going. And I'll tell you, that West Virginia defense is solid, guys. I really like the way. I mean, they stepped up earlier this year and beat a Virginia Tech team that we thought they didn't have a chance to take care of. I know that they've lost a couple games on the year, but I just like overall how Neil Brown's team is playing. So give me West Virginia +3 as Baylor as a lock bet pick this week. And Donovan, the final matchup we have in our big three.
Yep. Notre Dame versus Virginia Tech defense in that environment over in Blacksburg. Again, Notre Dame offensive line struggling. We know what Virginia Tech's defense brings at front seven, and we know that atmosphere that they bring. It wouldn't be that surprising to me. In fact, I might add that as one of my favorite bets of Virginia Tech to win that game outright. I think it's about a point. I mean, it's point and a half.
Close,
they're underdogs. Yeah. If not even by this point.
So Donovan's taking Virginia Tech money line.
I like it. Like, was it North Carolina? That was a crazy game. Like I said, I was there. That atmosphere far past my expectations. North Carolina already fell victim to Blacksburg at night. Notre Dame, they're lined up to do the same.
Yeah, guys. So, our last preview that we're going to have here is we've touched on all our big three headlines, 3 bets, and 3 matchups of the week that are kind of inside matchups, games inside the game, if you will. And now we're also on our third preview here. The line, guys, on our final game, Ole Miss hosting Arkansas. The line was 5 points earlier in the week. It's grown to 5.5 points in favor of the Rebels at home. Lane Kiffin's bunch and Sam Pittman's squad each got embarrassed last week. Arkansas in Athens, Georgia, college game day atmosphere. Ole Miss at Alabama with the 3:30 game of the week, the CBS game of the week last week. And both of them got boat raced early, and there was really no turning things around. So, Josh, what are your first impressions when you see the Hogs traveling for another early kick over to Oxford?
Well, I like this. And to me, it was both coaches got out-coached last week. Lane Kiffin playing like I do on Madden, just going for it every fourth down for whatever reason. And then I end up losing and force quitting in the third quarter. And then Arkansas not being able to adjust that offense. Georgia just not allowing him to do anything. Like, Pittman might as well just throw his clipboard in the air second quarter. I'm like, look, guys, nothing we do can get past these guys. So I want to see who bounces back, who gets the adjustments going. And I have to give the edge to Lane Kiffin. I do love Lane. I like his coaching style. Like you said, he's owned up to it. They're like doing popcorn giveaways at the game this week.
First 5,000 fans get free popcorn going into this game this week. So Donovan, they're embracing it. But Donovan, you got 2 teams that are, I always like to turn to you for running the football and offensive line, man. So when it comes to it, you got 2 teams that like to run the football, have success doing it. Ole Miss ran it as good as anybody in the SEC last year. They're averaging 243 rushing yards a game this year, 223 rushing yards for Arkansas per game this year. That's even after their paltry 75 against Georgia last week. So pretty impressive Arkansas run game and Ole Miss run game. So what's your opinion on the styles of play of these 2 teams?
I mean, Ole Miss is a really fast-playing team, right? Obviously, just on the offense and on defense, right? They're just there's a quick team. It didn't show too much against Alabama last week. Arkansas is more that grinds you down, right? We're going to slow and say they want to beat Georgia. I mean, honestly, Arkansas this year wanted to beat Georgia. The thing with this matchup that I think is interesting is that Arkansas had a lot of hype to them. There was a lot of excitement. You saw again that classic video with the athletic director getting emotional after one of their big wins. The difference is Arkansas against Georgia, they didn't just lose, right? They got embarrassed, right? Like Georgia, I understand that the Georgia offense didn't do much, but Georgia just beat them up. Like I said, we're better than you. We don't need to run crazy blitzes, right? We don't need to run, trick plays. We're just going to beat you up. Ole Miss, yeah, they got embarrassed by Bama, right? But it just feels like a Lane Kiffin team is more, able to kind of bounce back and shrug it off, right? Compared to Arkansas, where the celebration, right, and the surprise and the excitement of the team, that might be out. The cat might be out of the bag.
Yeah, and I think this is going to come down to which team has the most pride bouncing back coming into this, most mental toughness. I think oddly enough, even though Sam Pittman has this persona of being a really tough guy, I think that the confidence that Lane Kiffin bestows in his team, kind of the swag that Lane Kiffin has, it will pay off here after a loss. And Matt Corral is wanting to get revenge for the 6 picks he threw in
I was gonna say that
in the in this game last year. So I'll kind of go over it. Mississippi is a 5.5 point favorite, over under 66.5. I think that it's going to be under that because I do think Arkansas is going to get to run the football a little bit here and grind some of that clock. But I like Ole Miss to cover and maybe even pile on a little bit here late. Arkansas's second 11 a.m. kickoff, guys. That's rough on your body, Donovan. 11 a.m. kickoffs and they've been having to practice in the morning and all that kind of stuff. They're beat up after that Georgia game. I'm going to take Ole Miss to win and cover 35-21.
I'm going to go Arkansas in this one. I like Arkansas. I think Matt Corral, he's going to lose sleep. Like you said, those 6 interceptions last year were terrible. And I think Arkansas's defense is even better this year. We've talked about Bumper Pool. We've talked about Catalona, how they can get these turnovers. Lane Kiffin's going to want to get back to that offense that he has and throw in that rock around. But Alabama showed, like, you can stop these guys from running the ball on you. And that's what Arkansas loves to do, load up. They can drop guys back, but they can also load up that box and stop you from running. But their pass defense is phenomenal. Georgia only had 90 yards of passing last week. Even, I get it, Stetson Bennett, but he's still a great quarterback.
They didn't try.
But still, I think that goes in their favor. That shows that they're better than they were last year. And I think Arkansas are going to run the ball like Alabama did against Ole Miss. That starts with KJ Jefferson at quarterback. They're going to do some different reads, stretch it out, and then he's going to want to use his feet. But you have to get Burks going. He's the best wide receiver in the SEC, and that's hard for me to say being an Alabama fan. He was non-existent last week against Georgia. You have to get him going in this game, and I think you can, but Arkansas's got to get the run game going too. But I just like their defense too much. I think Matt Corral tries to force things. He doesn't want to lose 2 straight. They got blown out by Alabama. He wants to be the superhero, and he's going to throw 3 interceptions this week.
Oh, well, so Donovan, we're split once again. Tiebreaker time here. Who do you got between Arkansas and Ole Miss?
Yeah, I'll start off with Josh. I resent the fact that you said that Stetson Bennett is a great quarterback, whichever one you said. He's not good. He's not good. I'm pretty confident about this pick. I think Ole Miss is going to roll pretty easily in this game, honestly. Not to say nothing against Arkansas, but again, I think that momentum's kind of gone, right? And when you look at Georgia, who just beat them up, right, on offense and defense, Ole Miss, right, they've got the talent to do it, but they have the creativity to just to kind of expose what is in the back of our heads with Arkansas right now. And so I'm going to go Ole Miss 38. I'm going to go Arkansas 20. I don't really think it's a close game past the second half.
But Ole Miss actually thought they were going to beat Alabama. I don't think Arkansas goes in that game like, yo, we're going to beat Georgia. They're like, let's just try to show up. Like, Ole Miss, they're depleted now.
Yeah, but that's the problem with Arkansas is that they should have thought, like, of all the teams, right? You'd think Arkansas, the whole country was behind them, right? I mean, like, I was behind Arkansas. Though. Yeah, but reality sets in.
Here's the thing with Lane Kiffin. He does not mind making fun of himself. So he probably went into the locker room and said, guys, I went for it on my own 27. That one's on me. Hey, y'all, you're fine. It's okay. Let's move on to the next one. That's why I think Ole Miss takes care of business on this one. But Donovan, I do want to say something. Who's the only quarterback in the FBS right now that had a lead on Alabama at halftime? Jeez. That would be Mr. Stetson Bennett. He's the only one last year that had a lead on him at halftime with Alabama. So, I mean, I'm just telling you, he's not as bad as you might think he is.
Final was
72 yards passing last week.
He did, yeah, on 11 attempts.
That's bad.
They didn't even. They said, "Hey, we're running for 7 yards a clip. Why we even got to throw the football here?"
That's what Arkansas is going to say to Ole Miss too.
We'll see. But guys, that is our show here this week. We hope you enjoyed these 3 great matchups. Make sure to follow us. You see the Twitter account there at CFB Unfiltered on Twitter. Also, make sure to subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts form as well. And then also the 365 Sports YouTube channel. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. And guys, we will be back on Monday for some rapid reaction to these games and some more. Give you some headlines that come across over this weekend. Maybe Ed Orgeron's fired after they lose in Kentucky this weekend, and we'll be able to talk about who the next LSU coach is going to be. So a lot of stuff going on this weekend. Hope you enjoy a packed weekend of college football. For Josh Taylor and Donovan White, I am Blaine Gilmer, and we will catch you on Monday on CFB Unfiltered.